Last month, a group of scammers successfully stole $240 million from a single victim. But their success was short-lived. This group of dweebs lasted about as long as Concord did because within a month, they were caught and assets frozen, two of them already being indicted, and it's all thanks to Zach XBT. This is someone I've talked about before. This guy is like Jason Bourne. If he's on your tail, your goose is cooked. Zach XBT is a scammer's worst nightmare. Him and CoffeeZilla I have the utmost respect for. They do incredible work with holding these pieces of shit accountable and catching them. And Zach XBT spearheaded this crazy investigation where he got everything. Like, he has probably more information on these guys than their own parents do. He's probably got all their fucking report cards from second grade till they graduated. It is wild. And there's also video footage of them committing the crime. These goobers got the biblical smackdown put on them by Zach here. And since there's video recording of this, we get to hear from them. And holy shit, you get to hear just how sad and pathetic these dweebs are. And Zach also got like some of their messages that they exchanged. And one guy tried to use all of the money he stole to get girls. And yet continued to get rejected by all of them, at least from what we can see. It is unbelievable how pathetic they are. Anyway, here's kind of like the general breakdown of what happened. On August 19th of 2024, they targeted a Genesis creditor by calling his Google support via spoof number to compromise the account, calling his Gemini support claiming the account is hacked, social engineered victim into resetting two-factor and sending Gemini funds to a compromised wallet, and then got the victim to use AnyDesk to share screen and leaked private keys from the Bitcoin core. He then also has some of the messages they exchanged about all of it. Reading through their messages, you can see that it's pretty much all social engineering. This is what hacking actually looks like for the most part. Very rarely is there a case where it's someone with fucking 5 keyboards surrounding them that they're typing on, injecting some kind of worm and code into the mainframe to hack. Like the way it's portrayed in the movies with like a turbo hacker man with sunglasses on typing away furiously. Usually it's someone just pretending like, oh yes, I'm Phil Cheeseburger on behalf of Microsoft support, you're compromised. That's usually how it goes. So like reading through it, what you can do is, please just take a picture of the last 4 of the private key. You can crop the rest out and just please take the picture for now. You don't have to send it anywhere. So like they're just giving lines that they can feed this guy to convince him to do what they need in order to steal his money. They're basically just choosing dialogue tree options in a Bethesda game to try and steal people's shit.
Wow,
No way. No fucking way.
I see it, bro.
It's on the blockchain. It's on the blockchain, bro.
No fucking way, nigga.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
No fucking way.
Yo! We're done! We're done! I'm spazzing out! Do you know how much money that is?
It's a
Holy fuck!
quarter of a bill.
Probably.
Spent 3 ways or is it 4 ways? That's
Oh!
That's pretty pretty funny. Pretty 10 pretty pennies.
I'm gonna lose my shit!
I can legitimately hear the Cheeto dust and fedora that the guy's wearing who keeps saying, probably a pretty penny. Probably like 10 pretty pennies. He sounds so fucking congested. Like I'm congested out the wazoo right now. But even I don't sound that bad, I don't think. Good lord, brother, holy. Dude just sounds like a wedgie magnet. It's actually baffling to me that they pulled this off and then had all of this evidence that they themselves gathered against themselves. Like, this is a private recording of them. You steal $240 million and you leave the biggest possible digital footprints. That's mind-boggling. Zach XBT claims that he has over an hour and a half of footage of these fucking goobers. There's also times where they slipped up revealing full names and other important information that Zach was able to gather. And the one I really want to focus on is Malone. Zach got some really good information on Malone because this guy loved to flaunt all of this shit. So he gets all this money and immediately starts spending $250 to $500K a night and giving out Birkin bags to random girls. There were girls on TikTok that were walking away from his parties just carrying Birkin bags, and I guarantee he didn't even get so much as a kiss on the cheek for it. This guy was blowing $500,000 a night to try and get laid, and I guarantee he's still a virgin. He even bought his crush a pink Lamborghini as well as 3 Birkin bags to try and lure her in and make her fall in love with him because of his money, and it doesn't work. He reaches out saying, I got you a present, we'll call it an early birthday gift, a thank you gift, I appreciate you so much, heart. And all she says is, I am taken once again, and he says, I don't care. Malone, I know you care. Dude probably fell to his knees, crying into his hands, all this money, and he still cannot get a girl to be interested in him. Seems like he's using every doubloon that he stole to try and buy a girl's heart, and it is not working for him. She just shuts it down immediately, reminding him that she has a boyfriend. Like, that's so good. She doesn't even say thank you, by the way. This guy must actually be a huge nuisance, like a big piece of shit. She doesn't even bother to try and thank him. He must always try and use money as leverage on people or some shit. Because she doesn't even entertain the idea for a second. That is so good. There is a part of me that hopes that she did at least still take the keys from him for the pink Lambo and then have the boyfriend reach out telling Malone thanks for the car. That would be the cherry on top. Now, Malone is one of the 2 that have already been indicted, so we get to take a look at this Casanova right here. This is the guy. We get to put a face to this pathetic douchebag. He was very public with all of his money and all of his spending too. So Zach XBT actually pulled up his Instagram and some of the photos on it where he'd flaunt the money that he stole and what he spent it on. Here's one from his Instagram page, which is unfortunately private now, so I can't peruse to see what other bangers might have been on there. But I love how, even in this photo, Malone is like the least visible person there. His 2 friends are front and center and Malone is in the background. Even in his own Instagram post, he is not like the main focus. This guy must have just been like a perpetual fucking loser, even in his own friend group. He gets hundreds of millions of dollars here, and still they don't respect him and don't care about him. They just use him for his money, and he is fine with that. That's the impression I get. Here's some more photos from his partying where he'd blow hundreds of thousands a night and buy girls Birkin bags. Anyway, though, let's talk about some of the others. So Zach XBT identified pretty much everybody here, so another one that also got indicted is Box. Now, Zach was able to find not only the information on these people, but also where all the funds were coming through, which led to a lot of the funds being frozen, as I understand it. I highly recommend you go to Zach XBT's actual Twitter page if you want like a full in-depth breakdown on how he did all of this. It's extremely impressive, and I'm too stupid to fully understand all the ways that he was able to pull this off. But what I do understand is that Zach fucked him. Like, he absolutely went wild on him. And now 2 of them have been indicted, and I think it's only a matter of time before the rest will also face justice too. Overall, though, after reading through it all, I'm pretty surprised at how effective this was from these snot-nosed weirdos. They didn't do anything particularly new with this. It seems like pretty standard by-the-book social engineering with the Google support phone call, that kind of shit. That's something people have done for years. The method by which they actually took the Bitcoin is pretty different. Like, I haven't seen that done before, but to actually get in the door through this social engineering method is something that has been done for so long. I am just kind of surprised that it still worked this well for them with someone that had that much money. You would think that they probably wouldn't fall for something like that, but what's been proven time and time again is that just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean that you're super fucking smart. So they got very lucky that their victim played along, even gave them screen control, and they took that money. And the victim is very lucky that Zach XBT was on the case to catch all the people here and maybe at some point even get the money back. But right now, the thing to celebrate is that Zach XBT has done an incredible job with this investigation, identifying all of the scammers here and getting them to face justice. Hopefully the rest of them will face it as well, so they'll join Malone and Box. And yeah, that's really about it. See ya. Hello and welcome back to the People I Don't Like corner. Today we have a special repeat guest joining us for the launch of the new season here, Phidias. You might remember Phidias from this iconic YouTube classic where he went to the world's poorest country and tried to turn it into some kind of spectacle. This is actually the original thumbnail from Pyrocynical's video. After the backlash, though, he changed it to his current one, which is this. The video is, I spent 100 hours in the world's poorest country, and basically it boils down to him going, whoa, look at all these poor people. Glad I'm not poor. That's kind of the entire vibe of the video. He tries to put some kind of wholesome, almost altruistic spin on it, but it falls entirely flat when the actual content is him going, oh, you're poor? This is how you live? Oh, ew. Oh! There's even a fucking scene in there where he goes to one of the classrooms and he pulls out his phone and basically just flexes on him saying like, I have the entire world's knowledge at my fingertips.
They are not only from school, they are online from the phone. They can access all the clever minds. I said this because only 10% of the population has access to the internet. I left the class and felt inspired.
This scene is a particular flavor of Goofy that you don't see that often. It's Goofy mixed with delusion, a very powerful alchemy. If you pay attention to the clip, you can see the teacher give him a really confused look as he pulls out his own smartphone, and Phidias like kind of blocks him with Elon Musk's head as the teacher approaches, and then he cuts to a different clip. And so I'm pretty sure the teacher felt a little insulted here because Phidias is treating everyone there like they're stupid, and it seems like the teacher approaches him with smartphone in hand to just let him know like, hey, we do have technology here, you don't need to act this way towards us. At least that's the impression I get. Anyway, I'm focusing too much on this video in particular. I'm just using this to showcase why I haven't liked Phidias even before what we're about to talk about today. So this video was labeled as poverty tourism, where Phidias went to this country in order to use everyone there as props for his content to make money off the back of all of it. Half the video is spent saying how cheap everything is to the people's faces. There's also scenes where he goes to where people live and he's noticeably disgusted. It's a bad video, but there were arguments made that it came from good intentions. I don't agree with that. I think Phidias is a narcissist and his entire intention here was just maximizing views, and spending 100 hours in the poorest country as some kind of YouTube challenge I think is completely tasteless. But the reason I mention that is because what he's done today has no arguments in support of Phidias. What he did today is going across Japan for free. That was his challenge video. And fundamentally, it's him just filming a series of crimes that he commits in order to go across Japan for free.
I'm going to travel across Japan for free against these 3 YouTubers, and the winner gets $10,000. So I ask a stranger to give me some money. Oh my god, I love you.
I'm not going to go through the whole thing because you're going to get the idea pretty quickly here. It's not just him doing it. He roped in 3 other YouTubers to be accomplices in the crime, which apparently in Japan is a pretty serious crime from everything I've read. The refusal to pay for the services of public transportation is treated as a pretty serious offense. More serious than this face I'm about to make. So you know that it's not something they take lightly. I've also read from a couple of sources that they're considering like an actual investigation into this situation, though I don't think anything's 100% confirmed there. But regardless, what he has done is still illegal. Now, in the beginning here, he asks a stranger for money so he can pay for the bus. I guess that counts because he's not using his own money, thus he is still traveling for free.
To go down, so hopefully he doesn't ask me to pay.
Get off?
Yes.
680. Yeah.
6. Only,
Six.
only this.
80.
No, no, man.
80.
No.
Police.
No, no.
Come on, a police station. 80 yen.
Because I was 80 yen short. In the police station, they started interrogating me and they took my phone away, so I couldn't film anything.
Good lord, even the brain worms inside of his noodle must be in agony. When his neurons are firing, it just produces nothing but trash. The clout-poisoned mind that this guy has is so impressive, I think it actually deserves to be studied at some point. Just taking a peek at his frontal lobe and his thought process would be insightful. He gets detained for 5 hours in Japan, and the number one thing he was concerned about is he wasn't able to film it. I don't know how you even end up that fucked up. That is so degenerate and so embarrassing. He said the police eventually let him go and covered the 80 yen that he was short, so I imagine they just got unbelievably annoyed with this goober and said, enough is enough, we can't take the headache any longer, get the fuck out of here, we'll cover it, just leave us alone. So they send him on his way and he immediately goes and commits a series of crimes.
So the police already knows me, so I'm going to disguise myself. Now, being disguised, I'm ready to sneak in the train. This is my train, so let's hope that nobody gets me. And now it's time to teach you how to get the train for free. So I'm entering the train, and I will find the toilet and go straight to the toilet. Here is the bathroom. I will just lock myself the whole time in the bathroom.
Man played Assassin's Creed one time and thought a hoodie up would solve all of his problems. It'd just be the perfect disguise. All the NPCs around him would forget that he exists as long as the hood's up. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough. He beelined straight to the bathroom in order to ride for free all the way to his destination. but it's the bathroom. People are going to need to use that at some point, so we get some knocks on the door, and it starts to cause a little bit of an alarm from the authorities there that something is awry. You know, either this man's taking the biggest shit of all time, or the shit just took him. Or, the most likely explanation, this is a guy who's riding for free. He's breaking the law right now. So the authorities wait for him to get out of the bathroom.
So I came to my destination now. I think he is waiting for me outside.
And I was right. He was just waiting to catch me. So the only thing I could do is to pretend that I'm sick.
チケット見せてください。ダメダメダメno. チケット。チケット。
When I sat down, he released me, and immediately I started running. But he called the police, and they are searching for me now.
We're definitely getting in trouble here.
So the officer's got him in like a WWE lockup here. He's got him, you know, caught with his pants down, and eventually Phidias wiggles his way free and says that the cops were called on him, so he's trying to beat them to the next train so he can continue his crime spree. Now, I'm going to break the magician's code here and just speculate on something. I think this part is probably faked. I think it was real that he didn't pay and wasn't planning to, but when he did get briefly apprehended by the authorities there, I think what most likely happened is he paid for the ride he had just experienced and then is only pretending that he ran away from them. I don't think even he is stupid enough to try and evade arrest like this. You would actually have to be one of the biggest fucking idiots on the planet to do this, and also film it. I just can't believe that there's enough whippets in the world that you could hit that would damage your brain enough to think that any of this is a good idea. But he is a YouTuber at the end of the day, which means he probably is just fucking dumb enough to really do this and think that it's smart, all while filming his entire crime spree.
There are ticket inspectors on this train, so I'm hiding in the toilet. This is stressful, I'm not gonna lie. It's getting to my nerves.
Luckily, the train has arrived before the police could find me. Again, we're going to do the same method, toilet. Can't believe that this is real and not a movie.
It'd be the most boring movie ever. I just think the whole concept of the video is dog shit. Traveling across Japan for free isn't an interesting concept. You can do anything for free. I'll just go ahead and spoil it for you. If you want to be a criminal. Right now, you could go to the store and get a 100% discount off any item if you just take it and run. It's not like they've come up with like a clever plan or anything remotely interesting or entertaining. They just go to the shitter on the trains and sit there until they reach their destination. That's it. It's so fucking lame. It's just committing crimes. All you are doing is committing crimes and recording all of the evidence of what you've done. Assuming, of course, it's real, which you never really know for sure. I think there's a good chance that all of this was real, but I also think there is a chance that it's fake, where they did just pay for their trip and pretend that they didn't, though in the beginning I am confident he did actually just try and exploit the kindness of that Japanese person who gave him money for the bus, and then refusing to cover what was missing and then spent 5 hours in the police station. All of that I think was legitimate, but I think there is a chance that all of the free train rides were faked. Because I really just can't imagine a world where this fucking goofball ran away from the authorities after he was caught in the bathroom after not paying. So that's just my working game theory there, but regardless, it sucks. This guy sucks. And speaking of exploiting kindness, I really just can't stand the way this guy interacts with the people around him. He treats all of them like they're NPCs. He really does. So a lot of the video is spent hitchhiking towards the end, where they're all getting like different rides from different strangers to where they need to go. And all of the people giving them the rides are absolute sweethearts. And Phidias in particular films all of it, of course, and just the way he talks to them makes it sound so condescending. Like he speaks to them like he thinks they're stupid. Like that's the impression he gives off, that everyone that he interacts with is beneath him because they are props to him. And I can't fucking stand it. He pinned a response to this whole thing by saying, "Hello, beautiful people. I apologize to the Japanese people if we made them feel bad. That was not our goal. From now on, I am going to make more research to the cultures we go to and try to prevent this from happening again. I love you all." Actual 0 out of 10 response here. If this was a YouTuber apology tier list, this would be the biggest, fattest fucking F I could ever give. What are you talking about? You need to do more research on the cultures you go to prevent this from happening? Every culture in the world, this isn't legal. Even here in the States too, you can't just do things and not pay for it. I mean, you can, but you are breaking a law. You are a criminal. It's not like this is a Japanese specific thing here that was just I'm so sorry guys, I didn't do enough research on the culture. This mistake could have happened to anyone.
There is a checkpoint! All of my competitors in this challenge, they are amazing YouTubers, and I put all their channels in the description. Go and check them out and subscribe to them. I'm getting closer!
This actually just made me giggle. Actually gave me a hearty belly laugh like Santa Claus here. Because he says, oh, all my competitors, amazing YouTubers, check them out, they're in the description. No, they're not. They're not in the description. Imagine being some of these 3 YouTubers that just broke bad here, went down a life of crime for the sake of this video, and still just don't even get your channel in the video itself. So you have really no way of easily finding them. They actually got nothing out of it except a potential criminal rap sheet, perhaps. That is the worst end of the deal. Phidias, I guess, gets some views out of it, which equal money. They get less than nothing. I also went back to the intro of the video, just in case maybe I missed it somewhere. But no, he just says, I'm doing this against these 3 YouTubers and puts arrows to them without any mention of who they are, and then they all split off and run away. So there is no telling who they even are. They actually just got erased from this. That is how much of a narcissist Phidias is. He couldn't even bother to squeeze their channels in somewhere after they committed crimes for his video with him. That is the cherry on top of this shit cake. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. That's about it. So yeah. I feel the need to apologize in advance for this, but I cannot help myself. I have to show you this and talk about it. This is a full-blown Jesus wept situation. This is one of those degenerate acts that the Lord up in heaven turns his head away from in shame with tears in his eyes. Matt sent me this earlier today. I can't even believe this is a real sentence I'm going to say. There's a villain on the loose in Washington, D.C. right now, a true menace to society, a maniac on the loose. And a Reddit user caught them in 4K on camera where they put a cucumber in the grill of their vehicle, an innocent civilian's vehicle. This dude comes up, puts a cucumber in the grill, and then fucks himself with it. I'll show you some of the footage here, and I gotta tell you, it seems premeditated. I don't think this is his first rodeo here. Also, according to some people in the comments, they actually recognized his MO. Apparently, he's done this cucumber butt fucking across Washington before. So anyway, this guy comes over, and he sticks the cucumber in the grill of that car like Neil Armstrong planting the American flag on the moon. He also appears to be a master magician because that sleight of hand was impressive. I didn't even see the cucumber in his hand at any point until he reached the vehicle. It's like he just spawned it in, just conjured the cucumber out of thin air. So he makes sure that it's firmly planted in there like Excalibur into the stone. And also, the Reddit user gave a brief explanation for why there's like a hole in that fence. According to the lore, 3 kids crashed a stolen car into their fence last week, which created this hole, which the Cucumber Crusader used to get access to the vehicle. I can hear that Nissan Rogue crying out in agony right now. He is sexually assaulting this poor Nissan here. In broad daylight, too. Like, he looks around once just to check if anyone's watching, and then just goes for it. It wasn't exactly the most thorough sweep of the area, but who knows, maybe he's on a 3 cucumber ass streak, so he's got a UAV online, so he knew it was clear. He knew the coast was clear. So he just starts bouncing on it for a while, and then a car comes by. But he had like a spidey sense that was tingling, so before the car turned the corner, he must have heard it, I suppose. So he stops right in the cucumber. So he gets off the mechanical bull here, and waits for the car to pass. He looks so annoyed that this car is passing through, like, come on, man, really? This is private property. Can't you see I'm busy? Go on, scram, get out of here. I got business to tend to. He pops the cucumber out of the car, at least most of it, according to the Reddit post. 2/3 or so was left in the grill of the car. That is a big-ass cucumber. Emphasis on ass cucumber. Like, that shit is the size of Kevin from SpongeBob. And also, it doesn't seem like he lubricated it either. At no point does he, like, spit on it or anything. He just raw dogs the cucumber on the grill of this Nissan. I don't know how he didn't tear his entire butthole off by taking a cucumber dry up the pooper. That is craziness. So anyway, though, he's all disappointed now that his session was interrupted, so he takes his trusty steed, walks back over to his lunchbox, puts out his cigarette, and then we go into phase 2 of the boss battle. He drops his trousers again, and this time he just starts shoving the cucumber in his ass while he's, like, somewhat bent over. I can't show you any footage of that one, obviously, but, you know, he doesn't even need the cars anymore. He's done with props. He cracks his knuckles and says, "Fine, I'll do it myself." This whole video is unhinged, but perhaps the most insane part about it is something I can't show you because his ass is out. But when he finishes plungering his asshole, he puts the cucumber back in his lunchbox. Dude just drops a stinky poo-cumber into his lunchbox and then walks away with it. It's like an ambiguous open ending to Inception here, where you, the viewer, get to decide what he did with it next. In my headcanon, he just goes and eats it. Like, I feel like he probably ate that ass pickle. But it's also equally possible that, you know, he takes his sidekick to another car, and the cycle repeats itself again with him ass blasting himself on the hood of another person's vehicle. By far, the most degenerate thing I've seen this year. I think I can safely say that. Now, this story has somewhat blown up, at least in Washington. It's been picked up by quite a few outlets. And the location where this act happened is right next to a school. And I mean right next to a school. Like, you could actually shoot a spitball and probably hit it from the place where this guy stuck a cucumber in his butt. This area is apparently used by students pretty often. Like, they walk down that alley to get to school. A lot of people go down this area. It's a high traffic zone. And this dude did that there. It is so fucking gross. This whole thing is so disgusting. But yeah, I just had to talk about this a little bit. If you live in the Washington, D.C. area, sleep in fear. Maybe, you know, like, booby-trap the grill of your car just in case he happens to roll through and your car piques his interest. You know, maybe like some barbed wire a little bit on the front of the grill or something. I'm not really sure how to stop it, but good luck out there. As of right now, he's still at large. So, yeah, that's really about it. So, yeah. What if I told you I had irrefutable proof of aliens not only existing, but being extremely hot and horny? I think we could all agree that would be good news. But you know what's even better than good news? Great news, which is why I want each and every one of you to check your pockets right now. If even a single one of you did that, I am beyond disappointed. This is a YouTube video, not fucking sorcery, you gullible fool. The great news I want to share with you is that Tampa's newest and already most hated villain has actually been identified and caught. Right before Hurricane Milton was scheduled to slam into Tampa, a patrol officer noticed a dog chained to a fence in very high water. Everyone wanted to know who was the owner. What irredeemable piece of shit could do this to their pet? The idea was for the dog to die in the hurricane because the owner didn't want the dog anymore, clearly. This became such a huge story, not only online, but locally, that my mom actually called me just to vent her frustration after seeing that video. The video was massive, and it became like a real-life Yu Yu Hakusho chapter black tape, where seeing it immediately sent you into a frenzy and made you hate the owner of this dog. He immediately just became public enemy number one. Like fucking Cobra Commander, and everyone was trying to hunt them down for how cruel this was.
On Trooper, who was found abandoned along I-75 in Hillsborough County. That was the day Hurricane Milton made landfall.
As Hurricane Milton was barreling toward our state, this dog was left to fend for itself in Hillsborough County.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Florida Highway Patrol troopers found the dog standing in water up to its chest after a Good Samaritan spotted the furry friend tied to a pole on I-75 near Bruce B. Downs Boulevard.
This is a video that infuriates pretty much anyone that sees it, for good reason. I thought there was no chance that the owner would ever be identified or anything like that, because this is not uncommon. There are tons of subhuman worms that do this all the time to pets they no longer want. But in this case, it became so big that it seems they put a lot of resources behind finding the owner here and bringing them to justice.
And so Trooper Morales rescued this dog.
Lopez tells us 23-year-old Giovanni Aldama Garcia has now been charged with aggravated animal cruelty. She says Garcia told investigators he was driving to Georgia to escape the hurricane, but left his dog on the side of the road because he couldn't find anyone to pick the dog up.
Goofball rolled a nat 1 on the persuasion check. That's a stupid reason. There were a million other things you could have done besides just leave the dog to die. And in fact, he did more than that. It's not like he just pulled over and let the dog out, which would have been horrible. He went the extra mile into being exceptionally evil by making the decision to tie the dog to that fence, ensuring it would die in the hurricane because it would have no way of escaping. This asshole had to waddle through like shin-high water himself in order to tie the dog to that pole. He really wanted it to die. This isn't like the matter of, oh, I was out of options, so I had to tie my dog to a fucking fence in the middle of a hurricane in order to keep myself safe on this journey to Georgia. Like, it's not like you couldn't take the dog with you. You were actively traveling with it in your car until you just threw your hands up, I guess, saying fiddlesticks, and then pulled over to tie the dog to the fence. I guess you needed to make room in your car for more galaxy gas and Fent, you brain rot loser. Like, this is so unbelievably cruel, and there's no justifying it at all. There is no reason he could possibly give to try and make this not an awful, awful, terrible thing that he has done.
He did admit to being the dog's owner and admitted to wanting to get rid of this dog and had been making efforts to get rid of this dog for several weeks or months even before the storm. And this was his way to do it.
In the days following the dog's rescue, rumors circulated on social media that Trooper had been returned to its owner. However, the Leon County Humane Society wrote on Facebook that that never happened.
That's so crazy to me that apparently he was trying to get rid of this dog for quite a long period of time and then decided, Eureka, this is the moment. Hurricane Milton can kill it. Finally, the Lord has answered my prayers. A natural disaster to kill my dog. What kind of psychopath? It blows my mind that someone like this exists. Like that is a testament to how far technology and science has come, because this guy 100% would have died fucking 10 years ago trying to investigate bear shit to see if it tasted good, and he would have just been mauled to death in a jungle, and we would have never been cursed to be burdened with his stupidity. Like, it is so fucking shocking that someone this dumb and this dangerously stupid and evil has made it this far.
Since then, the Leon County Humane Society has received hundreds of inquiries about the dog. Meanwhile, Lopez says some crimes can be enhanced to more serious ones if they're committed during a state of emergency. Animal cruelty is not one of them.
It has not been enhanced because we don't have the ability to do that, but the folks in Tallahassee do.
In Tampa, Ariel Placencia, Fox 13 News.
I've said this for years, and I will keep saying it for years to come. Animal cruelty charges need to carry harsher penalties. They need to have more severe consequences. There are an infinite number of studies that have been conducted that prove beyond a shadow of a doubt a very strong correlation between people that hurt animals and people that hurt human beings. I'm sure all of you already know this, but it's important to remember that one of the earliest signs of psychopathy in human beings is animal cruelty, like a kid hurting the family pet, or skinning a stray cat, or gutting a squirrel, that kind of shit. Like, it is indicative of someone that could be a danger to society. Someone that would do something like this, tying a dog to a fence during a hurricane to ensure it dies a painful, agonizing death. Like, I understand he is facing repercussions, which is great. I think it's a maximum of 5 years. I don't know if he'll actually get 5 years. I imagine he probably will not, but I think he should get the maximum possible sentence, and it should be a very harsh and severe sentence. I have said that for so long, and I will continue to say that for so long. Animal cruelty charges need to be taken much more seriously than they are. But I know I'm getting heated. The reason I'm calling this great news is because not only is the dog okay and most likely going to find its forever home after all of this, but they caught the guy. Which I don't know how they did that. I appreciate that they took the time and effort to do that. I have no clue how they pulled that shit off, though. That blows my mind. Like I said, this kind of thing does happen a lot, unfortunately, for pieces of shit that just don't want their dog anymore. I don't know how they tracked him down. I guess they must have had, like, some maybe like traffic cams that they started to like piece together a timeline, and they figured out who it was based on that. Maybe the sheriff's department's got Cerebro in their headquarters and they were able to fucking jack into the mainframe here and piece the whole puzzle together. I have no clue, but they did it. They did catch the guy, which is great. So I just wanted to share this good news. This is a story that I know a lot of you have probably seen because it was so big and so sad and frustrating, and it has a happy ending. So that's good. Yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. On the surface, it seems like Batman and I have nothing in common, but nothing could be further from the truth. There is one thing we share, and that is an obsession. Batman is obsessed with justice. I'm obsessed with goofiness. Wherever there is goofiness, I will be there. I'm drawn to it like flies to a porta potty. I can't help myself. If I was one of the founding fathers of the United States of America, the unalienable rights talked about in the Declaration of Independence would have referred to life, liberty, and the pursuit of goofiness. Now, why am I mentioning this? Well, because I have one hell of a story to share with you today that I'm sure all of you are already aware of because it's been memed to death. But I haven't talked about it. And you know what? That just doesn't sit right with me anymore. So let's talk about the massive police scandal that's gone on this week in Tennessee, where 5 officers were fired after it was revealed that it was basically just a fucking porno set at the department. It came out that at least 5 male officers were engaging in sexual relations with a female officer, whom is married, by the way. And they were sending dick pics, taint pics, butthole pics, whatever, all kinds of photos of their genitals, and having sex at the police station on duty, and having girls gone wild type parties. This sounds more like a frat house out of an American Pie movie than it does a department that's supposed to protect and serve the community. The only thing that was being protected was their penises. Maybe. They probably weren't even using condoms. No jimmies. It was probably raw dog. But what they were serving was spaghetti and meatballs. Hold the spaghetti. Just the meatballs. As they were clapping against the cheeks of Officer Megan, whom engaged in many sexual encounters at the department while having a husband. Obviously, that's a pretty horrible thing to do. And it's also very weird that it went on for so long. Just a very weird situation overall. But before I get too deep, there's something else that I think's a little weird. And that's people who don't drink G Fuel. More specifically, they don't drink Divine Peach G Fuel. The most delectable flavor to ever exist. This, I'm pointing in the wrong direction. There we go. But yeah, Divine Peach is the best flavored beverage of all time. It is a fantastic, beautiful energy drink. And there's also a new one right around the corner that you can pre-order now. It's actually a Gundam collab with G Fuel. So they have a new flavor called MS-M31-0N. It's a Gundam style flavor, and it is also very, very good. So use code MOIST for 20% off the collector's box for the new Gundam flavor, or code MOIST for 30% off all G Fuel products. You can also click the link in the description below. Now, back to the topic here. This is a pretty fucked up situation. This is why you've probably been seeing her photo on every single meme or piece of content that refers even lightly to cheating. It's because of this story. There's a lot to unpack here, such as like hot tub parties, which a lot of sex, clearly. But one hotspot was actually at the police department's own gym, where a lot of oral sex seemed to be happening there. So I guess this gym membership came with a happy ending. It sounds like more dick was getting sucked at this gym than at the casting couch. Now, like most people with a soul, when I read this story, my heart broke for the husband in this situation, because not only has he been getting cheated on for such a long time, he got cheated on to such a ridiculous degree that it cost his wife her job, which is obviously a big blow to the household income. But buckle your seatbelts, because this is where the ride gets a little bumpy and very interesting. After all this news broke and the husband found out, he made a statement saying that he supports his wife and will stand by her as they work through this problem in their marriage. I'm not here to opine on that. Whatever makes you happiest, I suppose, but goddamn, fucking jinkies. Zoinks, Scoob. I'm wishing their marriage the absolute best. I'm sure any day now she will be announcing her OnlyFans, and I'd wager a guess we might see some cameos, guest appearances from the old boys in blue down at the Tennessee police headquarters there that are now also out of a job. But anyway, yeah, just kind of wanted to go over this story a little bit because it doesn't get goofier than that. I've seen a lot of people saying, why should it matter if the department was fucking each other at the headquarters? Sorry, I had to spit because it's such a stupid thing to think. I'll explain it to you. It's because you shouldn't be having sex at work. This doesn't apply to just something like the police department. This applies everywhere. If I found out my local subway workers were mashing pissers in the back, getting the sloppy salami on the clock, I probably would stop going to that subway. I wouldn't really want to go to that spot anymore. It's just not an appropriate place, time or place, to be engaging in coitus. I think that should be pretty obvious. And if you'd still like to fight me on that point, can we at least agree that at the very least it's rude? I think it's just downright rude. Not only the cheating on your husband, that is, I dare say that's a little more than rude, but the fucking while at work, I mean, come on, please, pardon my language, but you've got to be a real jerk, I said it, to be having sexual intercourse while on the clock. That's not okay. I'll say it. All right, and I don't care who heard me say it. So clearly this situation's fucking wild. I'm also just straight up stunned and blown away by how quickly the officers were let go. Usually when there's any kind of scandal or controversy with police officers, they get a paid vacation for like 6 fucking months and then quietly come back. But in this case, since they fucking soiled the sacred ground of the police headquarters with DNA, fucking cum all over the place, they had more DNA in the department's gym than they had in their evidence lockers, I imagine, with all the oral sex going on there. I guess that was a line that was too far. So they cut them off quick. No paid vacations here. Though I do think a couple other officers were suspended. So there was a lot here. They cleaned house with this scandal. They've got a lot of vacancies now. I think they have 11 vacancies after all of this. So this became this like wild web. Kind of like that SpongeBob episode where he keeps like peeling down wallpaper and there's more dirty diapers behind it and it just keeps going. That's what's happened here in this situation, but with sexual relations while at work that they just kept discovering more and more of. But yeah, anyway, just wanted to talk about this a little bit. That's about it. See ya. If someone told me I could get 100,000 views on my YouTube video and it would only cost me 7 years of my life spent in prison eating gruel off of the floor, I'd say sign me the fuck up, baby. What a deal. Prison is temporary. Clout is forever. And so is a criminal record, I suppose, but it doesn't matter because internet updoots are all that really matter these days. This dream came true for a YouTube couple named Saucy and Honey. They were recently arrested and charged with third-degree criminal trespassing and conspiracy and could face up to 7 years in the slammer, all for those sweet, juicy YouTube views. They pulled off the most epic prank this world's ever seen, and the history books will remember them for it. They'll be talked about like Jesus Christ was in the Bible, the saviors of high-quality YouTube content. They did a 24 hours in Target challenge, or prank. You know that trend that every 16-year-old was doing on YouTube back in 2017? Yeah, they did that like 4 days ago. I don't know why they chose this prank. It died like 5 years ago. They're very tardy to the party, but they seem to desperately try and suckle any amount of dust they can out of the dry titties of this garbage-ass trend from a time long since forgotten. And they're paying the price for it. They got fucked in the ass. But you can't help but feel bad for them because they clearly have a disease. It's called terminal clout hunger. And unfortunately, it's a plague. And it's been spreading for quite some time on the internet now.
Okay, what's up, Fascination Empire? And your girl, Honey. Okay, you guys, sorry we're rushing through this intro, but it's 9:37 at... Oh. Okay, you guys, sorry we're rushing through this intro. It's 9:37. It's 9:37 at night.
Honestly, they should have slapped on an additional criminal charge for how dog shit their videos are. I swear to God, it's gotta be a human rights violation to have an intro this annoying. All of their videos start like this. It is painful. Sticking my head in a fucking dump truck while it's compacting garbage would be less miserable.
A YouTube couple is in hot water over this video, in which they claim to have spent the night in a Pennsylvania Target.
You guys, do not attempt what we attempt at home. We are entertainers.
Listen here, goofballs, don't try what we're about to do at home, you dumb assholes. We're professional entertainers willing to risk life and limb for your entertainment. Immediately gets arrested, faces 7 years in jail for this shit. I don't know what she was thinking. This isn't exactly like a defense, right? It's still a crime no matter what. Just because you consider yourself an entertainer doesn't mean that you're all of a sudden immune to repercussions of a crime. This is like if a birthday party clown robbed a bank and when they caught him red-handed, he just honked his nose. Honk. Oh god, he's an entertainer. Never mind, guys. It's all good now. We made a mistake here. I don't understand why more people don't know this, but I'll go ahead and peel back the curtain. Most of those YouTube pranksters are fake. In fact, I'd say 95%. So all of the ones that did the overnight challenges, they cleared it with their local store in order to ensure that they were allowed to do it. And they didn't actually even spend 24 hours in the facilities they said they did. They just stay for long enough to get footage and then leave. But all of it was cleared beforehand with the franchise owner.
Surveillance video from inside the store shows them wandering around various sections while recording video of themselves. While LaRose and Fisher told viewers that they spent the night in Target, police say they left through an emergency exit around 3 a.m. and tripped the alarm. But the couple returned to the store when it opened to the public to resume recording their video.
Yeah, what? They lied? They didn't actually spend 24 hours in the Target? What the fuck? That's gotta be the worst offense of all. You know, I could excuse the criminal trespassing and all that. I could even excuse the abominable intro to their videos, but the fact that you're gonna come in here and tell me you spent 24 hours in Target when you only spent, like, what, 2.5? Oh my god. I spit on that absolute garbage. They could have at least had the courtesy to spend the whole night there. Because at that point, now not only do you go down looking like a stupid asshole, but now you go down as a stupid lying asshole as well. And their audience of like, I don't know, lobotomized 12-year-olds or whatever's watching it, they now know that they can't trust anything they do going forward. So even if they somehow do escape the prison time, which I imagine they will, I don't think they're actually going to spend 7 years in jail, they've lost the trust of their audience now.
The couple was released on a $25,000 unsecured bond, and they're due back in court March 24th. Fisher told a reporter outside of court that she has no regrets, that they were living their life and having fun. But the couple said they would not be doing another stunt like this again. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Montalbano.
I can't imagine that statement's going to help them very much in the court proceedings. Yeah, I have no regrets about committing the crime. Surely that won't come back to haunt them. But yeah, anyway, just thought the story was kind of wild and another prime example of the attention-seeking disease a lot of people are afflicted with. That's about it. So, yeah. Do you know this man? He may look like a default character in a Warhammer 40k Space Marine game, but he's very real and has become a very real boogeyman to the music industry. He was recently arrested on a series of charges, and they're basically treating this guy like Cobra Commander for what he's done. He stole directly from music distributors. And the way that he was able to do this, make off with upwards of $10 million in royalties over the course of 7 years, is through a really interesting scheme that I imagine a lot of others are doing behind the scenes, and it's something the music industry themselves also does in broad daylight. But he got slapped hard for it. So what he did is he created a lot of AI songs and flooded streaming platforms with them, and then had tens of thousands of bot accounts perpetually streaming those songs that he owned, and he would collect royalties from all of those botted stream numbers. His name is Michael Smith. Even his name sounds AI generated. But you want to know what AI could never generate? Goof juice. It's the best flavor ever made. It's actually perfection, and AI can't do that. Also, GamerSupps right now is having a big special where you can get free shipping to anywhere in the world using code MOIST. So pick up some goof juice, best flavor ever, gamersupps.gg/moist. And he's getting his ass spread open here by the FBI now. So the FBI assistant director said, the defendant's alleged scheme played upon the integrity of the music industry by a concerted attempt to circumvent the streaming platform's policy. I love how they just unironically said the integrity of the music industry. What integrity? What kind of fucking laughable joke is that? No such thing. And like I mentioned at the beginning, the music industry is guilty of botting numbers as well. But that's different. It's totally epic when the music industry does it for themselves. That's just swag style business, baby. The FBI remains dedicated to plucking out those who manipulate advanced technologies to receive illicit profits and infringe on the genuine artistic talents of others. As alleged, Michael Smith fraudulently streams songs created with artificial intelligence billions of times in order to steal royalties. Through his brazen fraud scheme, Smith stole millions in royalties that should have been paid to musicians, songwriters, and other rights holders whose songs were legitimately streamed. Today, thanks to the work of the FBI and the career prosecutors of his office, it's time for Smith to face the music. You know the guy that said that had the biggest fucking smirk on his face. That was his mic drop moment where he put the sunglasses on. I also couldn't help but actually scoff when they said, with a straight face, that he took money away from the artists that would have been paid through these streaming platforms. Brother, look around. The musicians make the littlest piece of that pie. The actual entities that make the lion's share of the money through streaming platforms for music are distributors, publishers, and labels. The actual creative, the artist behind the work, they get the tiniest cut of that cake. They get a urinal cake more than anything. They just get served little dog shits on a plate. They don't see most of that money in the first place. As someone who uses Spotify for our music project, The Gentle Men, I can tell you firsthand, the Spotify royalties for the artist, 2 thumbs way down. Boo, boo, big boo, throw tomatoes. The main people hurt by his scheme were the AI-generated zombies that run the music industry. The music industry was the one that was directly affected the most. I do think there is an argument and a strong case to be made that because he was pumping so many streams to his songs, he was taking some of that marketing, like advertisement money, away from other artists because those ads were instead getting played on his streams that weren't real. So I do think he did end up taking some money away from some of the other artists on the platform. But the main people that were affected was just the music industry directly. He's not like a hero or anything, but it's hard to feel sympathy for the victim here because of how corrupt the music industry is. Now, the way he did this, I think, is pretty interesting, and it's something that I think a lot of other people are doing to a lesser scale than Smith was. So to carry out the scheme, he created thousands of bot accounts on music streaming platforms, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and then used software to make the accounts constantly stream the songs he owned. Smith estimated that he could generate 661,000 streams per day, which would get him 1.2 million a year, but he wanted to avoid streaming it all to a single song because he recognized that that would be pretty suspicious and would probably get the kibosh put on his operation pretty quick. They'd find it. So he then identified the need for thousands of songs that he could pump these fraudulent streams into because it would keep the number low enough because it'd be spreading the 660,000 streams a day across thousands of songs. So it wouldn't really be setting off anyone's alarm bells. But if all of it filtered into just one or two songs, now that's what I call butthole 28, getting 660,000 streams per day, someone's going to notice and start to piece together that, something's a little fishy here. So that's when he turned to some co-conspirators about needing to get a ton of songs fast. And there's nothing faster than AI. What I find really surprising, though, is that this is in 2018, so this is very primitive AI, and he contacted a chief executive officer of an AI music company, and together they generated hundreds of thousands of songs for this. The names that the AI spit out were pretty trash except for one, Calm Baseball. That name bangs. That right there, I could see that name in lights. Calm Baseball now performing at Madison Square Garden. Someone's gotta take that. It's too good to just let wither and die, to fade away. But that's the strategy in a nutshell. So he created tons of fake artists, tons of fake music, and tons of fake streams, and collected a lot in royalties from it. Now, I think there is a ton of people doing this. I think there are a lot of people that aren't flying as close to the sun as Michael Smith did with over $10 million that they're raking in. Michael Smith was going fast and loose here, going hog wild with the amount of money he was making from this, but I think there are a large number of people that are doing this exact thing with smaller numbers. Because Michael Smith would have never been caught if he didn't make so much from it. And I'm sure every single one of you watching this, if you use Spotify, you've stumbled across one of these AI cesspools, like this fucking latrine of AI generated music, and some of it's got hundreds and thousands of listens to it. I think those accounts are doing exactly what Michael Smith did, but instead of making off like Scrooge McDuck with 1.2 million a year, they're probably doing something smaller like $100,000 or $200,000 a year through this same technique in order to stay invisible to the upper echelon of the music industry. That's my guess, and if I'm wrong about that, I don't think I will be for long, because now that this story has blown up, I think there are going to be tons of copycats that are going to do this exact same thing. Bots have become so prevalent. I know this gets tossed around all the time with like dead internet theory and all of that, but unironically, the data has shown more often than not, the people you interact with aren't people at all. They're not blood, flesh, cringe, and cum. They are bots. And a lot of the things and content you consume doesn't even come from humans either. It comes from bots. So it's one of those things where if it's not already happening in a big way on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, all that, it's going to very soon. Now, in the case of Michael Smith, he's being charged with wire fraud conspiracy, wire fraud and money laundering conspiracy, and could face a maximum of 20 years in prison per count. And I've got a hunch that the music industry is going to do everything in their power to make an example out of Michael Smith to try and scare people away from emulating what he's done. I think they're going to throw the book at him to make it a deterrent from copycats. Because if more and more people start doing what Michael Smith was, the music industry is going to be in some deep doo-doo. It's a very hard thing for them to combat against. Like, look at how long Michael Smith got away with it. And again, the only reason he got caught is just because of how much money he was pulling in. But if people stay at lower amounts that they're making from it, I don't think they have the ability to find all of them. So I think they're very scared of this becoming a bigger problem for them. And I think they're going to do everything in their power to fuck Michael Smith. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. That's it. See ya. I've lived in Florida my whole life. I've seen things that you'd only read about in fairy tales. I could tell you stories that you would swear were false. I knew a guy in college who used to ask to lick people's shoes on the streets, the bottom of their shoes on the street, for his own sexual gratification, I imagine. I don't know if it was sexual, it's my theory, but he used to love licking shoes, and he became known as the Ybor shoe licker. Ybor being the area that he resides in. Point is, I'm getting lost in the lore of the Florida comic book superheroes. The point is, these eyes have laid upon things that could traumatize even the most grizzled of Navy SEALs. And yet still I'm surprised by some of the things that happen in Florida. Today I watched a news story that I can't make heads or tails of. I don't know who's in the right and who's in the wrong here. So I just wanted to share it with all of you because it's starting to convince me that Florida is not even a real place. It's just like a giant sketch comedy section. Like a quarantine zone of bad sketches gone wrong.
Well, I went to jail. They come arrested me last Thursday. They were here.
I lose them to animals, but I was not expecting them to lose them to my neighbor that was like my friend.
So those are the main characters here, and I'll give you a quick backstory. So they're neighbors, and one of them killed the other's rooster. Now, the guy's claiming it was done in self-defense because the rooster was extremely aggressive, and he's facing potentially up to like 5 years in jail for animal cruelty. He already spent like 30 hours in jail for this. The other guy's claiming he did it just maliciously to kill the rooster. And we're about to get a lot of exposition here, so get ready.
I didn't know to give it a 21-gun salute, CPR, mouth to mouth, or call the chicken ambulance.
Big Roo was Jason DeFelice's pet rooster. That is until James Nix hit it with a stick.
Now, like a game of Clue, we have the murder weapon and the location of the murder. But we don't know the circumstances as to why. We know James is responsible for the execution of Big Roo, but we don't know the motive. We also know James sounds like Larry the Cable Guy, but that might not be good evidence for us. We get James's side of the story here, and the way he tells this war story makes it sound like Big Roo was the raid boss of this trailer park. He makes it sound like, Big Roo was coming around the block to shake James down for his lunch money, and James panicked and in self-defense hit it with a stick, which unfortunately killed the rooster. He didn't mean to kill it, he just wanted to get it away from him, but it unfortunately led to the demise of Big Roo. He then says that he didn't do CPR or mouth-to-mouth or call the chicken ambulance, saying that he didn't know what to do, kind of panicking about it, which I don't think is going to help James's case here since he just left the body in a ditch. He could have absolutely called the chicken ambulance. I mean, we all know that hotline number, like the Ghostbusters, who are you going to call? Chicken ambulance. But he didn't do even that, so he hit it with a stick and then left it. Which is sad, and I do know from personal experience, roosters can be some real aggressive sons of bitches, that's for fucking sure. I remember being a little kid and like a school field trip took us to a petting zoo. Bro, those roosters will come at you with a head of steam sometime, looking to take your fucking heart out. So I have no doubt that there probably was an element of self-defense here, but I don't blame the rooster or anything, I blame the owner. He was being kept as a pet, and the owner clearly does nothing to like monitor it or keep it on a leash. Though I don't know if you're like supposed to keep roosters on a leash and walk them or something, that I'm not familiar with. But like at least keep them from like just wandering in neighbors' yards and being let loose. The owner just didn't do anything to protect his pet and just let it wander the entire neighborhood, which gets brought up here in a minute.
So I'm defending myself. I was feared for my safety, and the chicken died.
Nick says the rooster attacked people.
I have not heard that because I know the neighbor here. I know him. Like, we're friends. He never said anything to me about it.
I did tell him after the chicken hit my dad, I said, hey man, the chicken attacked my dad. Oh, it's just a chicken. What's he gonna do? Okay, well, look.
Now James pulls out the receipts here. He's got the photos to prove it. Man was using that Dell laptop to print these bad boys out specifically for the interview, showing that the chicken does have a history of attacking. So he's saying that his father was a victim of the Big Roo, and you can see some of the scars here. So Big Roo was terrorizing this area, though Jason disagrees, saying that no one ever said that, including James. And truthfully, I just don't know who to believe here because it's very possible James could have just printed off any photos of a leg injury and claimed it was Big Roo that did it to try and establish a history of violence, to try and justify the self-defense with the stick. And I'd like to see the stick that struck down Big Roo because that's got to be the biggest stick in all of Florida. Like a goddamn mahogany tree trunk or like a caveman's club. To take out Big Roo in a single strike, that thing must have been the weight of Thor's hammer.
The neighbors even disagree on how others saw Big Roo.
The kids that used to live over there, they were throwing rocks and sticks at this chicken to keep it away.
I know the kids down here, they played with the rooster a little bit, like would throw rocks at it and chase it.
So one
Jason, that's not playing with the rooster. That's being afraid of it and trying to get it the fuck away from them. Who plays by throwing rocks at each other? Hey, Bill, come on over here. Let's play this fun game of being stoned to death. It's great. Like, again, it's hard to know who's in the right and who's in the wrong here, but I am leaning more on the side of James did this as an accident in self-defense. Jason's attitude is pretty douchey, and he does not understand what playing is. Oh yeah, that James is a real jerk. He's a no-good liar. Everyone in the neighborhood loved Big Roo. The kids would throw rocks at him, run away screaming and crying. It was so much fun, and I know they're going to be really upset to learn the news here. Also, I think Jason does bear a big fault because he's the pet owner, and he did nothing to, monitor the pet, just leaving it completely open to roam the area, clearly. Even he's not defending that. He's talking about how, like, the neighborhood kids would throw rocks, so clearly there's a history of Jason just letting the rooster wander around completely unsupervised, which is very irresponsible.
One day when Nick says the rooster followed him and attacked him.
His neck flares up, and he's doing his thing, and he's trying to jump up at me.
He was trying to get the animal away.
This makes total sense to me because if there was a big rooster coming at me and it started busting out the Squidward dance, I'd probably panic too and try and flee, or, flight or fight response would kick in. It'd be a real mess. Again, the way James tells this story just seems a lot more genuine than the way Jason tells it, but it's just so hard to know for sure. But I also think it would have made a lot of sense if James truly did this in self-defense, to go to Jason and be like, look, man, we all loved Big Roo, and unfortunately something tragic just happened, and then explained it to him. I feel like it wouldn't have got this far, but it seems like he just left the rooster's corpse outside, just like rotting outside. So, which means that Jason now doesn't trust James' story because James made no attempt to, like, communicate what actually happened to Jason, I guess. This is just, there's so many fucking plot lines going on here. I feel like I'm trying to dissect Evangelion. It's just so many moving parts.
And I try to hit it, but the chicken's jumping up at me, and I accidentally knocked it in the head. Call it a lucky shot, whatever.
But when Dave Felice came home, all he saw was his rooster dead in a ditch.
You see what I mean? Leaving the body out there was just a bad move from James because it immediately makes Jason question what the fuck happened and why. It makes it seem like James just killed his rooster in cold blood and left it outside like a trophy or a warning to other roosters, like Vlad the Impaler, putting the goddamn Big Roo on a pike. It's just there could have been a much more efficient way of handling this, just like more communication, like, Jason, you stupid imbecile. You again left Big Roo unsupervised and it tried to attack me, and I accidentally hit it in the head, and unfortunately it went right to Valhalla. They could have talked it out. They both shoulder a lot of blame here, but I really do think Jason's intentions were self-defense. Roosters, again, from what I understand, can be very aggressive. Jason openly states, yes, this rooster just wandered around this entire area. Neighborhood kids threw rocks. The other neighbors over here, knew the rooster. So clearly there's just a lot of problems in general with what happened here. And it's a sad story, but one that I find so fascinating.
I said I'm calling JSO. I called JSO. JSO didn't do nothing. And then a couple days later, I realized I could call animal control.
And in late June, James Nix went to jail for animal cruelty.
Next thing you know, he calls the chicken police on me.
That's the last organization you want to visit from. The chicken police are no-nonsense, ruthless, strictly business, merciless, and they will fuck you up. God have mercy on the soul of someone who gets a visit from the chicken police.
While the neighbors continue the fight, Nick says he never should have been arrested.
Chickens are dying every day, people, at churches, Popeyes, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Really.
He's not wrong, but it's not a great comparison either, because it's not like those chickens are being hit with a stick in the back of the restaurant. They were factory farmed. This was a guy's pet. Again, I think both people are at fault here, but I just don't know who's more in the wrong. I don't know if it's necessarily animal cruelty if it was done in self-defense. Like a rooster, I mean, they could hurt you, right? Like, it's not like they're completely unable to do damage to human beings. People get attacked by chickens and it causes damage. Usually not life-threatening or anything, but you still don't want to just be attacked by a random animal just on your way home. Again, Jason shouldn't just let his roosters wander around and, you know, rampage this whole neighborhood. And James should have done more to tell Jason what happened. You know, that it was an accident, that Big Roo attacked him. So, again, just a wild story. And Florida is just so full of wackiness, I couldn't help but just bring this one up. That's about it. See ya.